Good morning, everyone. Today, I, Parth, and Deepshikha are going to present on the topic planned obsolescence. So, now we are going to start our presentation by Deepshikha giving a brief explanation about what planned obsolescence is.
Thank you, Prachi. So, usually we have heard people saying these days that products are not as durable as before. So, a major reason for this could be planned obsolescence. Now, let's understand what planned obsolescence is. Planned obsolescence means intentionally designing products in a way so that their durability reduces, as a result of which customers are going to demand it more frequently and demand cycle shortens. So companies look this as an initiative to earn more revenue. They would compromise on the quality, they would compromise on the durability, and as a result of which the life cycle of the product reduces. It becomes redundant very early. And also, the second way to achieve planned obsolescence is to make customers dissatisfied with what they already have. So, major reason for this could be to actually make customers try for new competitive products that they have introduced, and they might, whereas companies might only introduce products with very less significant changes, yet they want those customers to go and buy those products by making them feel very dissatisfied with their current levels of consumption, or let's say what they already hold. So let's trace back the history of planned obsolescence. History of planned obsolescence. This is not something which is very new. It's been there since ages. The very first example was that of Phoebus cartel. Now, Phoebus cartel intentionally reduced the lifespan of the bulbs by 1,000 hours. So this obviously meant that after a particular point of time, they would customers would buy and go buy the bulbs very early. So this is a very old example of planned obsolescence. The next major and very important examples of planned obsolescence is that of General Motors. Now, General Motors actually, Alfred Sort of General Motors and Ford at that point during 1927, they were major competitors. While Henry Ford decided to actually bring some significant changes in the Ford models and introduce in the US market, Alfred P. Sloan thought that instead of making some significant changes, why not make the customers feel that their model that they already have is now out of fashion. Let's make them feel a little dissatisfied about what they currently already have. And so the only major changes, or the only changes they introduced, were that of difference in colors, some change in sizes and models, but not something which would have a very different impact. So this was, although the model was not lacking in quality, but yet this was actually seen as a planned obsolescence method by critics instead of dynamic obsolescence, which Alfred Sloan introduced. So, and even IKEA is, as we know, it's known for its furniture furniture modulation, where they can they set their living rooms, where they can set their living rooms. So IKEA, during 1994 and 1996, they made sure that they capture the market of women empowerment was a thing then. It was a new concept, it was emerging. People were trying to find out ways to voice their opinions, and it was a hot thing then. So what they did was that they captured the market through introducing their new replacing living room sets and chunk out the chits campaign, where British women were actually encouraged to throw their or dispose their old furnitures, which were already in good shape, and instead introduce new living modulation sets. So although it was seen as a good business idea, but employed on the basis of planned obsolescence. While these were some of the critics of planned obsolescence, for example, IKEA encouraged people to actually dispose of the furniture which was already in a very good shape. but at the same time, it encashed on the concept, on the emerging concept of freedom for women. So, but the underlying principle here was that of planned obsolescence more than that of business idea, as pointed out by critics later on. But there were others who actually praised planned obsolescence. So, during Great Depression, it was extremely important for the industry wheels to keep running. Bernard Landon, on the other hand, said that if we reduce the durability of the product, people are going to demand more. And since people are going to demand more, there need to be there would be continuous employment for those people who are actually indulged in producing the products. And as a result of which, the wheels of the industry would keep going. And there have been books by Christine Frederick saying that planned obsolescence is a new thing. Women have already been indulged in changing their fashion. So similarly, now the change is towards bringing new products, bringing new lifestyle changes, and planned obsolescence is exactly that and shouldn't be seen negatively. Next is components of planned obsolescence. So there are various ways a company might achieve planned obsolescence. The one is the design. So planned obsolescence is largely determined by the materials a manufacturer chooses to use and how they are put together. So if a manufacturer chooses to use poor quality of materials, it's but obvious that the durability of the product would reduce, as already discussed before. And next is linear growth model. If the company is only focused towards one revenue line, that is selling the products, and not towards the ancillary services like repair, replacement, then their focus would be only to sell products as much as they can. And as a result of which, they can employ planned obsolescence because they're not focused towards repair or let's say new warranties or anything else. Next, a major issue is low wages and lack of human rights, followed in many countries. So we might see that that in some cases, replacing the product is much more expensive it's much more expensive on the wage point of view rather than actually making new cheap items. So replacing a product is much more expensive because more wages, more new number of employees need to be employed. So as a result of which, they instead companies think that instead we should go for producing new cheap items. Next is product logistics. Product logistics involve not providing interchangeable accessories, not having interchangeable accessories already there, lack of warranties, lack of services, which would make sure that customer replaces the product as soon as possible. Even marketing always promotes to include or buy shiny products for the customers. So the entire idea of marketing is to actually replace what you already have, keep searching or going for new products. It's to develop the knack for new products. Next is types of planned obsolescence, which will be taken up by Parth.
There are four types of planned obsolescence. The first is contrived durability, second is software updates, third is perceived obsolescence, and the last is prevention of repair. So the first one is contrived durability, which is the most common type of planned obsolescence. So what happens in contrived durability is that companies design or make their products in such a way that they are only uh, that they break down in a shorter span of time. So these products are made with parts that are designed to be break down in a shorter span of time. So, for example, let's take the example of fridge. So, if we notice these days that the newer and more modern versions of fridge are not able to last longer than, let's say, 1 year or even 1.5 years. So, but if we take a look at but if we take a look at older version of fridge or the older model of fridge, then we can see that they are still working in a perfect conditions. So what companies are doing with this is that they have intentionally designed their products in such a way that they break down quickly, and this leaves the customer with no choice but to buy a new fridge again. And second we have is software updates. So in software updates, we can take the example of either printers or smartphones. So let's talk about printers. So what companies are doing these days is that they have designed their printers in such a way that you won't be able to use them in the upcoming years, because with the updates in the operating system on your laptops or your desktop devices, the printer won't be compatible uh, won't be able to compatible well with that operating system. And then you as a customer would have no choice but to upgrade your printer. So you would have to discard your old printer and upgrade to a new one, just so your printer is more compatible with your current operating system. And then we have perceived obsolescence. So perceived obsolescence is another type of a common planned obsolescence, and this is very well been used these days by companies. So what happens in perceived obsolescence is that companies use clever marketing strategies to change your perception about a certain product. So let's say there are iPhones. So what Apple does is Apple uses clever marketing strategies to change your perception that your current iPhone or your let's say your current iPad has gotten old. So what these marketing strategies have done is that it has changed your perception that that now is the time that you need to upgrade to a newer product which is currently in trend, and this will then motivate you to discard your current product and then buy a new one. And then the last type of planned obsolescence is prevention of repair. So here we can also take the example of iPhone. So what Apple does is that they intentionally design their iPhone in such a way that it is extremely hard for you to get that product repaired. So let's say if your iPhone is not working and you have to replace its battery, and you go to a service center or a third party repair guy that can repair that repairs iPhone. So even then he won't be able to repair our iPhone. Like, it will be extremely hard for him, the repair guy, to repair iPhone, because Apple has designed their iPhones in such a way that it is extremely hard for the repair person to open that device and get the battery replaced. So these are the four types of planned obsolescence, and now I can give you some more examples in a brief way. So some examples of planned obsolescence are: first, slow down iPhones. So what Apple does is that they take their older models of their iPhones, let's say iPhone 6 or iPhone 8, and what they do is that they stop giving it new updates. So for example, we can talk about iOS 16. So iOS 16 is not available for older Apple devices like iPhone 6 and iPhone 7. So people who own iPhone 6 and iPhone 7 will have no choice but to upgrade their iPhones to a newer version, just so they can enjoy the benefits of this new software system. And second is protected ink cartridges. So these days, what printer companies are doing is that they are installing their printers with a certain smart chip. So what this smart chip does is that it detects when your printer is low on ink level. So even though your printer is low on ink level, what this smart chip does is that it disables your the use of your ink level entirely. So even if you have some ink left in your printer, you won't be able to use it, because the printer is intentionally designed to be disabled when your ink levels are low. So at this point, you will have no choice but to either buy a new ink cartridge that can cost even more than the printer itself, or buy an entirely new printer. And third is yearly updates on cars. So these days, automobile companies are have started to release a newer version of their cars on a yearly basis. But what they do is that on a yearly basis, they only make some minimal changes to their cars. So if as a customer you are upgrading to that newer version of the car, you are not getting much benefits. And third is fast fashion, low quality clothes. So fashion is changing at a rapid trend these days, and this trend is quickly changing. So, and here, as explained in the earlier slide, perceived obsolescence is used in fashion industry. So what fashion companies do is they take the use of perceived obsolescence, and then they apply that to their marketing strategies. So with the use of perceived obsolescence, fashion companies change your perception that the current clothes, apparels, or clothes you own are now are out of fashion, and you need to buy new clothes that are in fashion. So you, as a customer, you would need to spend more money on their products. And then last example I would like to give you is of marginally modified textbooks. So what happens with textbooks these days are, let's say, uh, with educational textbooks, or let's say even textbooks that are offered in professional courses, they are also released on a yearly basis with very minimal changes. So if they are released with very minimal changes, there is not much benefits you have as a customer when you upgrade to it. So this is these changes are made with the intention of making more profits by the company. So this is how types of planned obsolescence is used by companies to gain more profit. And further topics will be explained by Prachi. You can go ahead.
So I'm going to give you the example of Apple iPhones now. So with the announcement of device compatibility for iOS 16, many users were disappointed to find that Apple had removed all devices before the iPhone 8. So after all, Apple sold the iPhone initially as new and then as cheaper iPhone until September 2019. People who bought the iPhone 7 near the end of its cycle are finding that they cannot upgrade an iPhone that was sold just 3 years ago. The iPhone 6s and 6s Plus were sold until September 2018, as was the first iPhone SE. And none of these devices will make the grade. Apart from that, I'm going to explain you type of planned obsolescence in auto industry. First point is constant restyling. Manufacturer will sell a certain model and tell you how good it is, its features and all. Then in a few months, the same car is redesigned to look slightly better and have a better interior and have a slightly changed features, with a slight tweak in its engine. As a consumer, your old car is no longer fashionable, and hence you develop new need and a desire to own the newer version of the cars. Manufacturers, dealers would intentionally make a spare part no longer in stock, and the manufacturer ceased its production indefinitely. The implicit message is that planning for a new car may be better, cheaper option than hunting for rare or the limited parts. Now, talking about the ink cartridges, the example that has already been discussed by Parth, many Hewlett Packard and Lexmark consumers with the inkjet printers may function that their ink cartridges are no longer working, not because they're outdated or because they're broken, but rather the manufacturer designed them to shut down after a certain amount of time. In 1999, HP installed chips on some cartridges that communicate with the printer to tell it how long it has been since the cartridge was manufactured and installed in the printer. After a certain time, the printer will discontinue use of the ink cartridges. Miller said that over time, ink can yield some sediment that could potentially clog the plumbing and the print head, and that is why there's a timer. However, Bebo examined the Cooper connector pins on his old cartridge and the new ones and found that the new ones had an extra pin. He removed that pin and made it sure enough that the cartridge printed fine. So now coming on the fashion industry, that has been already explained by Parth, but I'm going to explain you or give some points for more introduction of the fashion industry in the planned obsolescence. Obsolescence is massive sustainability program, and in the fashion industry, this take two forms. The first is through perceived obsolescence, whereby fast changing trends, old styles, obsolete driving unnecessary consumption. Fast fashion brands as H&M or Zara put out anywhere between 12 to 24 collections every year, at least twice the industry standard. Another way that the fashion industry drives the obsolescence is by producing quality items. Within a matter of weeks, customers find new clothing. Apart from that, it seems or losing color, so it's coming out of footwear or jewelry breaking apart. So planned obsolescence is a driver of wasteful consumption. As more and more consumers are moving towards a conscious shopping, they're now looking to buy from brands that promise quality and durability, and often choosing to revert to the brand of their youth or their parents. Now, coming on the physical obsolescence, that's a part of fashion industry only. Fast fashion clothes are literally designed to fall apart a few weeks wearing. For example, they're usually made with low quality materials like incredibly thin polyester fabric. Then psychological obsolescence. This industry relies on ephemeral trends. From marketing to social media, influencers promoting hauls, we are brainwashed into feeling dissatisfied with clothes that are still in perfect condition. Now, coming on the books, there are many courses that where the required reading is a textbook that is highly specialized and costly. It would be easier to complete the course and resell your textbook, but that would cut down on the profit for the authors and the publisher. To stop this, textbooks are often reprinted with small changes, often skewing the page numbers when compared to the previous issue. This means that students are forced to buy these new copies instead of purchasing second-hand copies. Now, coming on the impact of planned obsolescence on the consumers, there is some negative effect of planned obsolescence as well. Consumers often react negatively to planned obsolescence, especially if a new generation of products offer insufficient improvements over the prior versions. Brands can be tarnished by artificially stoking demand through this method, ultimately driving customers away. For example, fast fashion has popularized the concept of perceived obsolescence, whereby customers try to stay up to date with the current fashion trends in the market, even though the price of the clothes they own are in perfect, even though the piece of the clothes that they are owning are in perfect condition. So consumers have to dish out more of the hard-earned money even if the product is completely fine. That is about how it impacts a consumer. Now, coming on the environmental and the social impact of planned obsolescence. So, I'm going to explain this topic by giving an example of increase in carbon footprint. The most immediate consequence of constantly replacing the products that either work perfectly but have gone out of style or which have broken is before they should have been, which has led to an increase in the electronic waste. The buildup of this waste, which is still not recycled as it should be, damages the environment. Greenpeace, a study that has found that among 40 best-selling gadgets, it was difficult or impossible to replace commonly falling parts such as a battery or display nearly 70%. It also noticed a trend among LG and Samsung towards making phones that are less repairable. Efforts by Apple and Sony to block environmental standards to encourage the design of devices that are comparatively easier to repair, upgrade, and disassemble for recycling, and set tablets, laptops designed by Microsoft often requires damaging the device to access it for repairs. So I believe that as an individual, we can reduce the impact of planned obsolescence on the environment by not making unnecessary purchases or buying items just to be fashionable or to boast in front of our friends. And rather, we should opt for recycling or recyclable products in the case of consumer electronic. Apart from that, planned obsolescence contributes to a culture of wastefulness by perpetuating the motto of buy new and buy often mentality and limiting the consumer's autonomy. There's a compelling evidence that the negative impacts of planned obsolescence are significant. Now, I'm going to give you some facts that will actually help you to understand the environmental and social impact of planned obsolescence. 95% of US adults own cell phones and only 77% use smartphones. The average usage life of smartphones in the US is less than 2 years. In 2010, around 141 million smartphones are discarded in the US, and 89% of which went to landfills. The negative social impacts of creating these products are staggering. Many of these products require highly specific metals and materials which are commonly acquired by mining and an inherently environmentally destructive process. Now, I'm going to explain you increase in carbon footprint. The result of planned obsolescence is higher levels of electronic waste. E-waste, as you know, often contains toxic substances which can leach toxins such as heavy metals in the groundwater, thereby negatively affecting the water supply. When exposed to heat, such as illegal e-waste burning, e-waste becomes a major cause of air pollution and increased levels of air particulate matter. So the various environmental effects associated with planned obsolescence and its consequent uptick in e-waste should greatly concern society as it puts the health of millions at risk. The short lifespan of many consumer electronics comes at a high environmental cost. The device, as well as apps and services such as streaming video, use a lot of energy. It's a problem companies such as Google and Apple have tried to address by investing in green energy, which is indeed a very great initiative. Now, coming on the laws again, the laws against the planned obsolescence. So, the Brazilian Institute of Politics and the Law Software filed a lawsuit against Apple after the fourth generation iPad was released only 7 months after the most recent version has been replaced. It also claimed that the fast release of with its Retina display was planned obsolescence and an exercise of unfair business practice. The European Economic and Social Committee has taken steps to ban products that have built-in defects that will cause a product to expire. Instead, the committee wants manufacturers to offer replacement parts of the products and to offer more information about a product's estimated lifetime so that consumers can make more informed decisions. There are not currently national laws that basically prohibit the planned obsolescence in the US. However, the Consumer Product and Safety Commission, that is CPSC, does have the power to issue durability and standard if it chooses to exercise it. In India, the concept of planned obsolescence is valid and lawful as per the provisions of the Copyright Act of 1957. However, remedy can be sought under Section 10 of the Consumer Protection Act, which defines defects or shortcomings in a product. So now I would like this Deepshikha to explain the risk to company for planned obsolescence.
So, as we know, planned obsolescence is something which might ensure revenue for a very for a short period of time, but not necessarily means that these revenue are enduring. These would last for a long time, and as a result of which growth of the companies might get affected. After a point of time, consumers will see through this, or maybe not satisfied with the constant purchases, especially of high value products. If they know that they have to spend again and again and they're not happy with the quality at the same time, so why would they go for that particular company? Therefore, this might work for a very short period of time, but in long run, this is not useful for companies aiming for growth, especially. So ESG risk is definitely there. ESG risk means environmental social governance risk. As we know, that since obsolescence has increased at a very fast rate, as a result of which there would be a lot of dumping in landfills, dumping in sea bodies, and both uh, aquatic animals getting impacted. So environmental risks are very high in this, and but at the same time, ESG is a concept which is really emerging. People have now started to notice this, and they are becoming conscious of ESG risk, and they prefer to go for companies which are involved in corporate social responsibilities, which are conscious about environment. And next is financial risk. The problem with planned obsolescence is that companies really stand to lose money if they do not make high quality products. For instance, consider the case of a company which makes inferior spare parts on purpose. This leads to frequent breakdown of the products, as a result of which the present value of the product in the eyes of the customers really decline. So it's the same reason. Even if you make the basic product, the design of the product is good, but let's say the spare parts are not good enough to sustain for a very long period of time. A customer would know that the replacement cost would ultimately become really high for them, and as a result of which they would avoid such purchases. So next, we would take up sustainability and planned obsolescence. So sustainability, as we already talked in the previous slide, that sustainability is a new concept, is an emerging concept. We are moving towards a circular economy which aims to repurpose, recycle, reuse everything which we consider a waste. Consumers are becoming conscious, companies are becoming conscious, and we are moving towards an economy which aims to reuse and recycle the products in the best possible way. So the very reason for planned obsolescence, or the cause, things which would actually cause planned obsolescence, is the exact place, is the exact scope where we can improve upon these. For example, we can, while as a manufacturing or as a company, we can choose materials which will stand up to the intended use, which are of quality. We can make double checks on the inspection, but never compromise on the quality. The same is the engineering. Uh, Design the product in such a way that it serves the primary purpose. It lasts for a long period of time and ultimately provide customer satisfaction. Repair and replacement are again a very important ancillary services. A company's purpose doesn't end just at the sales, but the repair services, replacement services, guarantees, warranties, everything is very important to customers. The next is backward compatibility. This is very important from point of views of company. Let's say these designs should work with all the old systems. Sometimes companies might introduce products which might not be compatible with the old systems, or the system and the products are not compatible, as a result of which they have to indulge in planned obsolescence, or let's say operating old systems become very difficult. So we should try build a operating system which is compatible with the new products. And then most importantly, as a consumer, we should be conscious, we should reuse and recycle, as already pointed out by Prachi also, that we should not go for the cool quotient, but rather know our responsibility towards the environment. So we have few examples for companies which are actually following sustainability. For example, many metal-based products are naturally sustainable. Cast iron cookware is one such example and has a reputation for longevity. The next is Swiss Army knives. It is known for its lifetime warranty and quick replacement parts, and the replacement parts for breakable components are available very easily. The next is saddleback leather wallets. And it's known for its over-engineered and products, advertising the products as the best quality products with a 100-year warranty. And the most important concept that we can learn from this is the modular concept. Modular concept means that you can update your already held device or already held things due to technological advances, and we do not need to replace the entire product. For example, Fairphone took this initiative for creating the Android phone, which isn't available in Canada though. The company recently came up with a new camera module that users could use to update their old phones. They do not need to go for entirely replacing the products, but can rather update the already existing features. So this can actually enhance the customer satisfaction and enhance the market share of a company. Next, we have the key takeaways. Prachi.
So I'm going to explain you the key takeaways that we have taken from the whole PPT. Companies can meet a growing demand for sustainability by building goods and services that make it possible for the people to change their habits. Circular business models are nothing new but are taking off in new ways. In apparel, resale has grown more than 21 times faster than traditional retail in recent years. Developing of multiple revenue streams, not only from selling new stuff, but also from resale, repair, upgrade, rental, and service models. Move away from the race to the bottom on pricing, sell fewer items, but make money from the same item multiple times by offering resale and repair. create stronger relationships with customer based on quality, transparency, and service. Pay as you throw waste service have been shown to reduce waste sent to landfill and help incentivize individuals to pass it on. Extended producer responsibility laws make sure manufacturers and retailers consider the full life cycle of a product. Right to repair legislation is on the agenda in the last 25 states. It would help protect farmer, small business owners, and individuals who want to be able to fix their own tools and equipments. So these are the references for your reference. And thank you. That's all from our side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Your suggestions, if any, would be valuable to us.